Good morning, everyone, and welcome to, well, day 6, but day 3 of the event. And I hope you're not hungover and you're still excited about today and the party at the end, right, Jasper? You forgot to mention the closing party. Okay, more closing party information. So, I'm Rob Gilby. I'm the CEO of Blue Hat Ventures. We advise tech, media, and entertainment companies, and I've been in Asia for 30 years and are at companies at Disney and Dentsu and Nielsen. But today, I'm delighted to introduce, we can sit down, Justin, my longtime friend, Justin Scarpone, who is the global head of Transmedia for Sega. Now, those of you who grew up in the 80s and 90s, which is probably only 5 people in this room, I think, you'll remember the arcade machines and the consoles that kicked off Sega's kind of growth, and the birth of Sonic in 1991, I think it was. And Sega has grown so much since then, expanding so much, and Justin is a key part of leading that. Now, Justin is a veteran of the gaming and digital entertainment sector. Before Sega, he was the APAC general manager and SVP of Scopely and helped build up the value of Scopely before it sold. Before that, he spent 17 years at the Walt Disney Company, leading digital entertainment and, most importantly, their gaming business for Asia Pacific. Disney's Asia Games business was the most profitable worldwide and included partnerships with iconic games companies in Japan, Korea, China, and all across the APAC region. And Justin led and drove that business. So delighted to have you with us, Justin.
Thanks, Rob. I should have you update my LinkedIn. That was perfect. Thank you.
Now, you have a really cool and sexy job title, Global Head of Transmedia. What exactly is Transmedia for Sega, and how do you go about doing this exciting role?
Well, Sega is known, rightfully so, as a game company, so we generally refer to Transmedia as all of the other things we do in terms of either storytelling, so content, but also consumer products, our licensing, businesses, as well as our sort of location-based experiences, be them theme park attractions, concerts, retail activations, etc. So all of the non-gaming businesses all put under the Transmedia group.
So there's a lot of things to unpack there in the role. Let's start with a couple of areas that are maybe more familiar, like film and TV. In recent years, we've seen a lot of gaming IP, gaming characters and stories come to life in TV series or streaming series or film. What are you focusing on in that space in Sega? And one of the questions I hear a lot is, how important is it to gamers and to audiences to stay true to the original game characters and stories?
Yeah, so in terms of storytelling, or linear storytelling, be it a film or, let's say, a streaming series, we have several projects that we're working on currently. We've done a bunch of stuff, so probably the one that a lot of folks in this room may be most familiar with is our Sonic movies with Paramount. So we're currently working on Sonic 4, which hopefully will come out in the spring of '27. We're also working on our next Angry Birds motion picture, also coming out late '26, actually, about a little over a year from now. And we've also done a bunch of series, both with Netflix for Sonic and Amazon Prime for Like a Dragon. And we've also been working on a Golden Axe series as well. So we've done a lot of things. We've got a lot of projects that we're working on. But in terms of your question around being true to the original material, this is actually, depending on the IP, we go back and forth quite a bit. Our core gamer audience is really passionate about keeping the story consistent with the game franchise they know and love. At the same time, when you're talking about creating a series, particularly when you get into live action, you want to give the actors, the director, the creative freedom that they require to do their best work. So it's always a fine line, and certain companies get it right and others struggle. And I don't think we've nailed it every time, but I think so far we're doing fairly well at that. But I tend to be one who believes in the creative vision of the specialist on a particular medium. So if somebody's a film director, they're going to know the best way to tell the story for that medium. As long as they understand the IP and what makes the fans love the IP, it's best to trust into them, yes.
So I guess it's maybe more closely adjacent if you're going from one screen to the next, from gaming screens to film and TV. But Sega's doing a number of exciting things in areas like sports, which people may be less familiar with. So maybe you can share a little bit about what you're doing in sports, both in Japan and outside. And also, particularly as it's F1 week, you have a very exciting partnership with McLaren. Do you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's just our something we're just incredibly excited about is, I think for the first time since the 1990s, Sonic and Sega is back working in F1, partnering with McLaren. We have a partnership that was recently announced, I think back in June, where we're working both on co-branded merchandise as well as some online promotions. We've recorded some videos with the drivers and Sonic together, and we're just having a lot of fun with it. And sports allows us to take our characters out in the world, reach new audiences, particularly given the recent explosion in F1 popularity. It's just natural for us to want to be there, but obviously the synergy with Sonic the character, who's all about speed, it was just a very natural thing for us to do. But Sega's a company and Sonic is an IP. We do multiple activations in sports. We've had a long-going partnership with the IOC. Since I think the Beijing Olympics onwards, we've been producing a Sonic and Mario Olympic title pretty much for every Olympics over the last 20 years. We've also, it's little known, but we also actually own some professional sports teams back in Japan, including a professional basketball team. So we dabble in sports ourselves, but we also look to partner with brands in the space. We also own a company in the UK called Sports Interactive, who have a gaming franchise called Football Manager. And Football Manager obviously partners with all the major football leagues across the world. So we have sort of sports in our DNA as a company, quite a bit more than people realize.
Football Manager launching in 26, launching in November, is it?
Correct.
There you go. He couldn't do the promotion, but I can do the promotion.
Thank you. On sale soon, yes.
So we've covered sports. We all know music matters. So you wouldn't automatically think about, Sega and Sonic and music, but you're doing some really cool things in the music space as well. Do you want to share a little bit about some of those?
Yeah, well, a lot of, in my career in games, I've always believed and seen the impact that music has in moving story forward, evoking specific emotions at critical points in the story. And increasingly, as we take our game IP beyond the games themselves into physical spaces, the power of having a strong music catalog that we're constantly updating and expanding upon gives us a lot of opportunity to bring the fans into the world, which, particularly with young people, is becoming more and more expected. So we do concerts around the region for such IP as Persona. We have a Sonic Symphony that tours the world. We have a concert series around the Hatsune Miku character that's basically a combination of a hybrid of real and virtual characters on stage together performing, called Project Sekai. These concerts tour the regions and help reinforce our game franchises while also providing incremental marketing and commercial opportunities. So music is very important to us in that regard, but it's also important when we try to introduce or reintroduce IP as a marketing vehicle to have a strong sound to the game. So recently we just had our latest title, Shinobi, which is a ninja game. And it was the first time we had released the Shinobi title in over 20 years. So this was a dormant property, so we wanted to do something big to get attention, particularly in the West, in the US. So we did a deal with one of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan, a fellow named YDB, and he recorded a brand new song, and we put together a trailer around using in-game footage and his song. And when the Wu-Tang Clan toured North America this summer, they were all wearing the Shinobi t-shirts and talking about Sega and their love of Sega and Shinobi. So it was both a a brand marketing exercise, but also provided new content to help reinvigorate a beloved but somewhat dormant franchise.
So we see the gaming and the music becoming part of a lifestyle of the fans.
Yes, particularly because it was a dormant franchise, young people don't know it. So how do we get young people interested? And quite often that's led through fashion and music. And so not just that particular title, that particular song, but overall we're trying to do more of that with our upcoming games, is to do things like live concerts, sometimes just in very small venues, just to get young people familiar with the IP. So we'll stream the gameplay while we're playing the music at an event in downtown Tokyo, for example. Or we just did one in LA recently at a place called Brain Dead. So we're trying to do more of that to build our fan base and make it multi-generational.
So with Transmedia, the idea of the flywheel of trying to get as many touch points in someone's life and connect with them more, a lot of time spent on the digital platforms, which is natural given the gaming heritage. But what are you doing in real life, IRL? And temporary sort of large, big ideas, like you got something with AirAsia, and then more, lasting sort of location-based entertainment, whether it's retail stores or parks. There's some really exciting things you're working on there. Do you want to share?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes when you do something in the real world, it's about promotion, of course. So you referenced our partnership with AirAsia. So there's 2 planes flying around Asia right now. I think it's a 2-year partnership. One is a Sonic plane where both the exterior of the plane as well as the interior is branded Sonic, and we even have a Sonic menu for the kids. The other plane is Persona 5 to be specific. So, which is a very different audience. It's more teens and young adult title. So we're trying to get our IP out there broadly in ways that stand out, grab people's attention, and that's one example. And there's other examples that are more commercially oriented, like we last December opened, the first time in Asia we opened what we call Sonic Stadium, which is a entertainment destination in an indoor theme park in Hong Kong. Right in the old Kai Tak airport area that was rebuilt and reopened recently as Kai Tak Sports Park. That business opened last December, is doing very well for us. So people who love, families and kids who love Sonic can go and spend the afternoon immersed in that world. We do character greetings, we do birthday parties, and just trying to create more touch points in this part of the world. One of our biggest efforts in the last year is we've opened several retail stores. We opened one in Shanghai in May, followed by our first Japan Sega store in July in downtown Tokyo in Shibuya. And those businesses have done extremely well. And what we're trying to do is bring in both our merchandise as well as our licensees' merchandise and really bring the fans into the world of Sega in the way that we haven't done in a very long time. Sega, after sort of a very big 1990s, had a very lean 15, 20 years. And so it's only been in the last 5, 6 years that as a company, as well as a brand, we've really been on the upswing. And what we're trying to do now is to reactivate, while being careful, reactivate consumer touch points so that they can come and experience the brands they love to further build the affinity, which is key to the future of our game sales, our movie tickets sales as well.
I think I'm definitely going to take the Sonic plane because that's going to go fast.
You'll get there on time, yeah.
I had to do that. So many areas you're looking at. You've got the core gaming, you have the film, the TV, the sports, the music, the retail, the promotional partnerships, all of these areas, and so much IP. Sonic, Angry Birds, Persona, Shinobi, all of and so many classic IP that you have from all the original sort of arcade game rights that you have. How do you prioritize? How do you choose which touch points to develop first? How do you look at the IPs? How do you sort of go about prioritizing and focusing and deploying the resources in the best ways to drive that kind of growth? Well,
actually, it's pretty challenging because I'm overseeing the global Transmedia group, and so the IP that resonates, let's say, in North America or the EU is not necessarily the same IP that's resonating in this part of the world. So, for example, in China, our biggest IP is Persona. And so we're spending a lot of time figuring out how we broaden our activations around Persona. We're planning to do things like exhibits, cafes, increasing our merchandise, our licensee base, so we have more merchandise into the market. Whereas in the West, we see our next big opportunity as being the revitalization of Angry Birds. We have a film coming late next year. We have more content that is on the way, and we're starting to get more and more licensee and retail interest in activations. And so how do we double and triple down on that initiative? So part of being good at my role is really segmenting the priorities, putting the plan together and having the org moving in that direction, and not looking at the world as like one boilerplate strategic playing field. Japan, you might be surprised to know, being the headquarters of Sega, Sonic as a property in Japan is quite weak. You know, we're making progress. It's actually become more popular in recent years. But for a long time, people didn't necessarily associate Sonic with Sega in the way that they do now. And in Japan, we haven't had a lot of merchandise. And so building Sonic in Japan is actually a big priority for us now. And through our store in Shibuya and some other initiatives, we're seeing good progress there. So each market we're looking at differently. Southeast Asia, both here and elsewhere in the region, we're looking at, again, very differently. Which IP will work, which companies to partner with, which content we should prioritize.
So last question for you, because I see the clock's ticking down and Jasper will get the big hook and hook us off in a minute. But last question for you. You've deployed this playbook at Disney before, when we were at Disney, and now you're deploying it at Sega, where you take IP, characters, stories, and you take them across multiple platforms, multiple sort of partnerships, multiple touch points. What advice do you have for IP owners, gaming companies that have an IP, or even creators? We're going to talk creator economy later. Creators that have an IP and they want to build this kind of touch point, connect with their audiences, with their fans across many more touch points. What advice do you have, having run the playbook through a couple of companies?
It's actually a pretty tough question to answer, because I think sometimes the straight answer is focus on one thing and do it very well, and then worry about transmedia. So a company like Sega is in a privileged position because we already have multiple very strong and established game IP franchises. So my role was to come into the company and take those IP and build a transmedia business. But the affinity for the IP already exists because we have great game studios, a great publishing group. Disney obviously is the master at the flywheel, so it's almost kind of pointless to say that, of course, everything they do is transmedia. But for a new company, if you're a startup and you're creating a game, let's say, make the game great, get a big audience. Always keep in mind that you're going to need to make the environment of the game compelling, the characters interesting, and always with an eye towards, can we merchandise these character models? So design them so you can. And then try to weave some story in there. Why do people care about your IP? Why should they care? Think about that, make a great game, or a great film, if that's the direction or the medium you're focusing on. But start with that, make sure that that is a high quality execution, and if you're successful, then these other opportunities present themselves. It's just, to do transmedia requires years, requires a lot of planning, requires partners. And so the more popular your IP is, the easier it is to get the partners, and I think the business scales more that way. So sometimes I tell that to startups, they don't want to hear it, but trying to do a full transmedia thing from day one is, I won't say it's impossible, but it's very challenging. Yeah.
Well, Justin, there's no question which F1 team you'll be supporting this weekend.
Clearly.
But thank you.
McLaren.
Yeah. Please join me in thanking Justin and for sharing his insights.
Thanks, guys.